Magnesium, hot topic, really important element. Should you take it? What we're going to talk about today is what it is, who needs it, and how to get it.
Should we all be taking magnesium supplements? Hi, I'm Dr. Eric Westman, and welcome to my channel where I review and debunk nutritional misinformation online. In this video, we're going to hear about magnesium, what it does, and what possibly we should be taking as supplementation. The source is two Canadian surgeons who love to put together educational videos in their sort of repartee of humor. Let's see what they have to say, and be sure to wait till the end where you hear my final thoughts. Before we jump into today's video, I would like to invite you to join my free course, Start Keto Right. If you're ready to lose weight, boost your energy, and get real results, this science-backed method will help you every step of the way. No guesswork, just a proven method to help you succeed on keto faster and feel amazing. Sign up through the link in the description.
So magnesium, number 12 on the periodic table of elements. It's earthy alkaline metal, shiny gray substance. I'm not gonna lie, it's got a pretty low boiling point at about 650 degrees Celsius. Highly reactive. Fourth most common element after iron, oxygen, and silicone. What?
It's too much. It's too much. No one wants to know that much about magnesium. They just want to know, should you eat it and where do you get it?
People want to know that.
They don't want to know that.
Added to aluminum alloy, make it very strong.
They don't care.
Okay, magnesium PI. Why don't you take it away?
Okay.
Well, this is really good educational background. I think they are doing a really good job of summarizing what we know about magnesium.
So magnesium, like Paul said, is an important element. It actually is a cofactor in up to 300 enzymes. It's important in almost all of our bodily functions. And deficiency is talked about a lot on social media and probably not very much with your doctor.
And you might have seen magnesium in preparations such as laxatives or sleep aids, which I find kind of odd because you could end up in the scenario where you're like, honey, good news is I slept great. Bad news is we got to change the sheets.
You slept like a log.
I wasn't just sawing logs.
Yeah. Okay, so.
Well, that gets into the dosing, right? So if you're taking a small amount and using it for sleep or for preventing constipation or muscle cramps, that's where I usually talk about magnesium in my teaching. If you've had an issue already and you need to replenish the magnesium, and here the dose matters. So a very small amount of, say, milk of magnesia will do the trick where you don't have to drink the whole capful of milk of magnesia if you want to use it as a laxative. So the dosing of this is important.
Magnesium, it's found in foods, found in supplements, found in antacids as well as laxatives. Thankfully, magnesium deficiency is quite uncommon. Our body has about 25 grams total of magnesium. So that's less than 1 ounce in our entire body. 50 to 60% of it lives in our bones. The other 40% is mostly inside of our cells and in our soft tissues, and actually less than 1% is in our blood.
And the issue with that is that we have such a big store in our bones and it's in our cells and not a ton of it is circulating around, and the plasma makes it hard to detect and diagnose if you've got low magnesium or too high magnesium.
Right, so some people talk about a blood test. An average number on a blood test would be 0.75 millimoles per liter. Now this is a really low number, but it actually doesn't represent how much lives inside of your body. It's kind of like if you lined up 10 people and looked in their wallet. Say they all had $100 in their wallet. It doesn't really predict how much money they have in their bank account.
I never have $100 in my wallet.
Cash is not king anymore, I don't think anymore.
It's all credit, e-transfer.
Right.
When was the last time you wrote a check?
I write checks for our rent at the office.
You're old.
Well, the point there is that the blood tests aren't always representative of the total body store of not only magnesium, but other elements that we check in the blood. Often we check the blood because it's convenient. It doesn't always necessarily correlate with a problem in the cells themselves.
Where, first of all, magnesium deficiency, like we said, really uncommon. What are the kinds of symptoms that you get from magnesium deficiency?
These symptoms are vague. Vague. They're very similar to the symptoms my children exhibit when I say it's time to get up and go to school. Fatigue, nausea, tiredness, vomiting.
Yeah, so that's from a minor or a low-level magnesium deficiency, and as it gets worse, they become more serious. So numbness and tingling, muscle contractions and aching. You can even have personality changes.
What?
Yeah. So, and a lot of people think, even heart arrhythmias, they think that this is more related to the hypokalemia or the low potassium, as well as the elevated calcium or hypercalcemia that often goes along with hypomagnesemia.
Yeah, so you're getting into some electrolyte imbalances and you get the symptoms of that, and then you're getting into some neurologic symptoms later on.
Okay.
Their personality change.
Yes. So where do you get magnesium from? Let's start with food.
Well, this is interesting to see doctors who I don't think they're treating people for obesity every day in the office like me. And so from my perspective, this is good information, but I don't give everyone magnesium up front. I wait for symptoms to occur. And interestingly, the two symptoms that I use magnesium for in my clinic weren't mentioned yet. And that was the reason that I might prescribe or ask you to take milk of magnesia or other magnesium supplement if you're one of my patients, is if you have constipation or muscle cramps. And so that's another on the list of magnesium, potassium issues. Muscle cramps can occur. Any effective weight loss program, whether it be diet, different diets, or drugs, or weight loss surgery, if it's effective and you're losing weight, you might get these symptoms of muscle cramps and constipation. So it's not just a keto or low carb diet that does that. Any program that's effective can do that. And so the electrolytes we talk about a lot are sodium, potassium, and magnesium. And the replenishment when there's a symptom is where I typically use this. And the symptoms can be vague, like they're talking about, which leads some people to say just use magnesium all the time. Well, there's some clinical situations where you might not want to do that. So if you're in the clinic, you're on diuretic pills, you're on other sorts of medications that doctors prescribe, you want to be a little more careful with the idea of taking magnesium and actually then being suspicious of magnesium deficiency. Electrolytes get depleted if you take diuretics. So the fluid pills that carry along the electrolytes as the diuresis happens. That's why I try to get people off the diuretics just as soon as possible.
Well, magnesium is abundant in certain types of foods, and I guess the plant lovers are going to love this because it's a lot of plant-based products that can provide magnesium. And the biggest bang for the bucks, I think, is pumpkin seeds.
Pumpkin seeds, number one. So 1 ounce of pumpkin seeds actually has like 150 milligrams of magnesium, which is like more than half of your daily requirement.
And we know you're not all getting together on Friday night to share some pumpkin seeds with the guys while you watch the football game. No, is there a football game on Friday?
No, it depends. Probably baseball now, yeah.
Baseball.
Yeah.
Or a hockey playoff game.
Oh my, please, no. Don't get me talking about the Maple Leafs right now.
Pumpkin seeds is one.
Seeds, beans, there's almonds, cashews, even peanuts.
And tuna.
Yes, tuna, chicken, a lot of meat sources. They have much lower amounts of magnesium, but definitely. The trouble is a lot of people feel or have shown that the magnesium is not always bioavailable. It's not absorbed at the same rate. So sometimes food supplements are not enough. So,
well, and it's interesting, the teaching here is good, but it's sort of, let's go and look what's high in magnesium and that therefore we should probably have those. Well, not necessarily, but it's a way to give you more options, I suppose. If you have some more variety and you want to be a little more mindful of magnesium, those are good choices to have, and they can be very low in carbs, which they're not really talking about. They don't always say good things about low carb diets, but that's okay. This is a video on magnesium.
Now, we've got to talk about supplements.
We do, actually. So in people that are not getting it through an adequate diet, and even others, some people feel that even if you are getting it, this is worth considering if you have some of the symptoms that we talked about. So in a supplement, there are a bunch of different kinds of magnesium. So it's the second word that's going to make the difference. So citrate and aspartate seem to be ones that are better absorbed.
Zinc, careful. You can't take zinc when you're taking magnesium because it inhibits the absorption.
Yeah, so here we get into, should everyone take magnesium? It's cheap. You could get cheap samples or cheap variety of it. You get high quality one, or is a magnesium supplement in the multivitamin that you might take enough? Let me know your thoughts down below and your experiences. My approach is to wait, not give everyone a supplement, and if someone has a symptom, you replenish it at that time. But that's my view from my clinic, where people are making all sorts of other changes, and often if I add one more thing, it may not be tolerated, the whole thing, the straw that breaks the camel's back sort of thing. So I try to keep things simple to a minimum, but the necessary things people need to change.
Now remember, zinc's a metal, magnesium's a metal. If you take an iron pill, you're probably going to assemble a bike frame in your stomach.
And that's not a good thing. So yes, careful when you're taking it with zinc and the amount. So the average person, adult, male or female, is between 300 and 450. And some people also discuss what is
350 or 450
milligrams.
Oh, I thought you were going to say grams.
Grams, that'd be too much. That's like a
Pound of metal.
That's like a pound of metal. That would be too much.
Why are you eating the toaster?
But it's hard to know how much to take. So some people would say slowly, incrementally increase your dose. And then once you actually start to get diarrhea, that's when you know you've reached the point.
Dial it back.
Right, dial it, which seems like a little bit of a weird way to do it, but because we don't have a reliable test, essentially the side effects of having too much magnesium, because it's not dangerous at that level, is some of the best ways to do it.
Change the sheets.
Change the sheets. Okay,
Magnesium.
A to Z of magnesium, and it's a really important element. It's relatively cheap to purchase. It's easy to take. The side effects are low. Side note, if you were taking mega doses, like up to 5,000 milligrams that some antacids and laxatives have, then you could be at risk. And there have been anecdotal reports of, unfortunately, even fatal events related to this. So obviously common sense when it comes to that kind of stuff. But in general, it's very, very safe.
In general, don't take a mega dose of anything.
No, agreed. Everything in moderation.
Well, there it is.
Except us.
Yeah, mega dose on Talking with Doc. There it is, magnesium, the element. Elementary, my dear
Number 12.
Watson.
So this is good information. The clinical approach that I have is a little different. Again, I don't recommend a magnesium supplement for everyone at first. I do recommend a multivitamin, like most weight loss programs. We recommend, if you're restricting the diet in some way, to just take a multivitamin matched for your age and gender. And the magnesium supplements that I will recommend are reserved for those who have side effects like constipation or muscle cramps. And I've even seen a little pearl here. I've seen people use the liquid form of milk of magnesia and have better results than using a capsule or a tablet. I think it's just better absorbed. Like, as you're hearing, it's a little complicated on the different absorption if you've had stomach issues, if you're on other medications. So that milk of magnesia remedy is a little pearl that I use in my patients if they have symptoms. If you have symptoms, take a teaspoon of the milk of magnesia for a week at bedtime, and that usually will cut out the constipation or muscle cramps that you might have in the first week or month of changing to a low-carb or keto diet. In the long run, these issues resolve on their own, so there's a keto adaptation period where you might have to have some supplementations, but in the long run, I'm not really convinced that we need to be taking extra magnesium. I suppose if you're on a diuretic and you're having it depleted, then that would be a good reason to do it, although not all doctors will prescribe magnesium supplements with diuretics. More commonly, they'll prescribe potassium supplements with diuretics, but not with a potassium-sparing diuretic. So consult your doctor if you're on any of these medicines and you're wondering whether and what type of magnesium to take. In general, I like the video, I like the style, it's funny, and I hope you like the video. If you do, press like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and look for new content on Wednesdays and Fridays. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and check out adaptyourlifeacademy.com.